A grain of pollen is approximately 20 micrometers in diameter. To give that scale, a human hair is roughly 5 times wider. You cannot see it with the naked eye. You cannot remove it with a brush. You cannot wash it out of a fibrous matrix once it has embedded. It does not leave, it remains as a silent witness. That is not a poetic observation. That is the foundational principle of forensic palynology. And it is why pollen is one of the most reliable witnesses in the evidentiary record. It was present, it stayed. And if you know how to read it, it tells you exactly where it has been. Forensic palynology is the use of pollen and spore analysis in legal and investigative contexts. It has been used to place suspects at crime scenes, to date documents, to trace the movement of objects. The logic is straightforward. Every plant produces pollen with a specific morphology, a unique shape and surface structure. That pollen disperses into the environment and settles on every surface it contacts. Once embedded in cloth, in soil, in organic material, it can survive for centuries, for millennia. The record does not require a witness. The pollen is the witness. Beginning in the 1970s, Dr. Max Frey-Sulzer, a Swiss criminologist, collected pollen samples using adhesive tape. He identified 58 distinct pollen types. The majority were consistent with plants native to Europe. France, Italy, Turkey, consistent with the cloth's documented history, but a significant subset were not. Among the pollen identified, Gundelia tournefortii, it is a thistle-like plant. It blooms in the spring. Its geographic range is restricted. It grows in Israel, Jordan, and the surrounding Levant region. It does not grow in medieval Europe, not in France where the shroud first appeared, not in Italy. Also identified Zygophyllum dumosum, a desert plant, found specifically in the Negev and Judean Desert, and Cistus creticus, native to the eastern Mediterranean, with a pollen season corresponding to Passover. These are not European plants. They are not plants that could have arrived through ordinary exposure. They are plants that grow in 1st century Jerusalem. In Chain of Custody, when Anna Keller examines the record, she is reading it as a chain of custody log. The question the pollen asks is simple. How did plants from 1st century Jerusalem end up in a 14th century cloth? There are 2 possible answers. The first, the cloth was present in Jerusalem during the 1st century. The pollen embedded at that time, it has remained since. The second, someone in medieval Europe deliberately sourced and embedded pollen from multiple species. Species that bloom specifically in spring and are not found anywhere in the European continent, and did this without leaving any other trace, in a period before forensic palynology. The first answer requires the cloth to be ancient. The second requires the forger to be a prophet. The pollen record is not the only evidence, but it is one of the most resistant to alternative explanation. Pollen does not care about institutional consensus. It does not respond to directives. It simply records where it has been. That is the principle Anna Keller carries into every investigation. The record is what survives, and this record has been surviving for 2,000 years, waiting for someone who knew how to read it. The chain is unbroken. The pollen is one witness. It is not the only one. In the next evidence log, we examine the blood pattern, specifically the wound distribution across the scalp. Every artistic depiction shows a crown. What the forensic record shows is something categorically different. A helmet. The implications of that single distinction run deeper than you might expect. The search continues. Pay attention to what does not fit.